Welcome to the Who Are You to Lead Anyway podcast, where we focus on mastering the skills we need to navigate leadership and life. Episode 83. I am your host, Cynthia Jamieson, leadership, life, and career growth coach. And today I am recording this from beautiful Miami, Florida, where I have been for 2 entire weeks. It has been fantastic. And I'm so glad you're here. And I'm happy to be here too with you. So just so you know, if the sound is off today or a little bit different today, it's because I'm not home. And so I'm recording this in the best way that I can, that I know how. So if you hear noises or other people in the background, that's kind of what's happening today. So I enjoyed a week vacation with my husband, Greg, last week, and we did some walking and just enjoying Miami. And as I am recording this, it is Friday, March the 8th, and I have been this week at a live coaching event with my coach. My coach, I'm not sure I've ever said her name, but Lindsay Dotzlaff is my coach. I have been working with her. She's one of my coaches, but I have been working with her for over 2 years. And her focus is on coaching skills, and she helps coaches be great at coaching. And so, since I think I'm a pretty great coach, I have a lot of my work with her to thank for that. And for the last 3 days, I have been in a room full of coaches from over 5 continents, which is super fun. And our focus this week has been visibility, which is a really important piece of work for anyone wanting to either make or have an impact in the world from a leadership, a life capacity. And so you might be asking yourself as you hear me share this, like, what is visibility? What does it even mean to be visible? So I always like to start with definitions. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, the definition of visibility is the state of being able to be seen or be seen. And I thought it might be useful to also mention the definition of invisibility, which is the inability to be seen, the state of being ignored or not taken into consideration. And so, what I want to do today is I want to define visibility a little bit, and then I want to talk about overcoming visibility challenges. I then want to walk you through strategies for increasing visibility. And then I'm going to talk about something that I learned here that I'm going to share that's going to be super useful for you called a care plan. And then we're going to talk about how to embrace authenticity as we become more and more visible in the work that we do, in how we show up, in all the ways that we're about to get into and talk about. And so let's start with defining visibility. So visibility is a word that carries a lot of weight, right? Like when you hear that word, it can feel heavy. And whether it's in our personal or in our professional life, being visible is often essential to achieving our personal and professional goals. But what does it really mean? And how can we harness its power to lead more effectively and more authentically? So let's start by defining visibility. Now, I've been giving this a lot of thought given the week. And at this point, my thought is that visibility is core. It's about being seen and noticed, heard and recognized, and acknowledged and even remembered for your conviction and your contribution. When we share our thoughts, our ideas, our opinions, our stories, our gifts, our talents, our skills, our knowledge with someone else or groups of other people, that requires us or can require us to step out of the shadow, which, depending on who you are and how you're wired, can be super uncomfortable in order to step up into the spotlight or shine the light on yourself. Now, my personal definition of visibility right now, and this is the work that we've been doing this week, so it may shift and change a bit, but it's about being able to trust myself enough to increase my ability and capacity to be seen in my fullest expression without censoring or editing myself. So it's about our ability to be noticed, to be recognized and remembered? And do we have the willingness and the capacity to stand out from the crowd and take up space, or sometimes even create space for ourselves when we might be feeling uncomfortable in order to be true to our authentic selves or in our fullest expression without that censoring or editing, in my case, of ourselves? So perhaps we might want to do this for ourselves specifically, or we want to be visible so that we can have an impact in the world, which is what I feel called to do in the world. The work that I do feels like a calling to me, and I know that it is bigger than me. And also, I feel some fears about that. So it's really about what is my willingness and my capacity to do that, and how can I tend and take care of myself as I do that? So you might be thinking, well, why is it so important? Well, there's so many reasons it's important, and I won't get into all of them. But for starters, being visible opens doors. When we're visible, we attract opportunities, connections, and resources that can propel us forward in our careers and our lives. Like, even just being here at this event, if I think about when I started to work with my coach, I have been much more visible in the world of coaching, in putting myself in these rooms, in sharing my thoughts, ideas, opinions, dreams, hopes, all of those things. And as a result, there have been many more opportunities, connections, resources that I have been able to avail myself of as a result of that. So just think about it for yourself. Like, how many times have you seen someone else receive a promotion or an award, or, simply because they were quote unquote in the right place at the right time? What's interesting is more often than not, it's not luck, but it's visibility that puts them there. So making the choice to be visible can make the difference, or mean the difference between, do I blend into the background, or do I step into our full potential, my full potential? And so this is something that, as a leader, when I was leading, I was very much a leader that led from behind, because I wanted my team to be able to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. And also at the same time, it's this ability to also step into my own full potential, which I am doing more so now as a solopreneur entrepreneur than I did as a leader, which is just interesting to see. So being visible can expose you to a larger audience, like I'm doing this week by putting myself in this room with purpose-driven coaches, which can help us individually and as a collective not only build our brand, but do the work in the world that we're here to do. So being visible allows people to get to know who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. Being visible also establishes your credibility and your expertise. And to say it differently, what you want to be known for in the world. So for me, I want to be known as the leadership, life, and career growth coach for new, emerging, and high potential leaders. That's what I want to be known for. I have a great, strong expertise, and I want to be able to use that as my talent and gifts in the world. So, for example, this podcast is an act of visibility. So when I show up here every week and I share my tips, my tools, my wisdom, my stories, I bring guests on, and I show up every week as an imperfect human, because I am imperfect, and that's okay, is so incredibly important to me to do that. So I just want to say thank you. You're welcome. Because I did do this for you. All of this has been intentional, purposeful, and for you. And one of the takeaways that the entire group had this week was how, when we do this as individuals, as coaches, or for you as a leader, when we show up and we're visible, how incredibly generous those acts of visibility are for your team, the collective, and the world. And what's been so great about this is really being seen and heard by you, the listener. And what that looks like specifically is when I hear from you and that you've enjoyed the episode, or that you have a particular takeaway, I feel recognized for the contribution that I have made. And to hear that I've helped you, or even when you ask me to, some people will reach out and say, hey, could you do an episode on this particular topic, or this is coming up for me, or this is what I'm facing. It's so rewarding And that is the felt sense of feeling seen. So let's talk about overcoming visibility challenges. So, because of course, visibility is not always easy. So, in fact, it can be downright terrifying. I don't mind sharing that with you. The fear of the judgment, the rejection, or the failure can and does hold us back from putting ourselves out there and sharing our full selves with the world. But here's what I've learned: the only way to overcome those fears is to face them. And when you are courageous enough to be visible, you can create change in the world, the change that you want to see in the world, but only if you're willing to share it and to do it. And so, as leaders, as either leaders of ourselves, our teams, our organizations, our homes, our families, I'm really curious, are we creating enough change? Like, what are the ways that we're holding back, that we're hiding or feeling unsure? And to be clear, we all do this to some degree, and we all do it from time to time, which brings up the idea and the notion of how aware are we and how visible are we to ourselves? Because who you are, your journey, your story, the culture that you come from drives your visibility. And also, depending on the context you're in, can drive your behavior. So, for example, are you in a context that invites people to be themselves or not? And if so, you're more likely to be visible. And if not, it's more likely that you're going to hold back or hide or keep yourself small. And it might feel like you are invisible. So, as a leader, where are you hiding or where are you keeping yourself small? What are the thoughts that you have well, about that? What are the thoughts that you have that are holding you back? And why are you doing that? What is the visibility work that for you would be really helpful to you, to your career, to your leadership, to your life? Now, as I say this is like happening in real time. So I have been sitting with this and recognizing the areas in my own life that I want to work on from a visibility perspective. And so what I've noticed is, because I've been taught and conditioned to be a good girl, to be a good employee, my transition over the last 2 years to being a solopreneur and now an entrepreneur has required me to be much more visible, to put myself out there in ways on social media, to do this podcast. And while I'm doing those things, part of my work continues to be focusing on the selling, the marketing of the coaching that I have, which is really super vulnerable for me. So I'm going to be working on that over the next 6 months. And so, as leaders, I invite you to think about, what am I afraid of in being fully myself? And so, when I ask you that, to internalize that question, just notice what doubts, what fears, what insecurities come up when you ask yourself that. And then, if you're willing, explore those fears, explore those doubts, explore those insecurities. Because when you take the time to take care of yourself, it does a couple of things. So first, it can take some of the power away from the fear, because you've named it, you've given voice to it. And then you can ask yourself, so if that happens, then what? Then what will I do? And take yourself all the way there. And let me share what this might look like for you specifically. So this is a recent client example, and they had to terminate someone. And through our work together, they were able to work through their fears and insecurities and doubts of everything that could go wrong. And from there, were able to make a plan to support themselves through it. So even though it was really hard, my client was able to see and hear and acknowledge themselves to themselves, and also felt seen, heard, and acknowledged by me as their coach as we worked through it. And because of this work, my client was able to conduct the termination in such a way that they were so proud of themselves for. They showed up so fully for themselves in their authenticity, in their values, and they conducted the termination in such a way that they helped that employee feel seen, heard, and acknowledged themselves, their contribution during one of the most critical and crucial times that can happen to a person in life. And their relationship is still intact. And so I just get goosebumps as I share that with you, because this is the power of both the work of coaching and of of visibility. And my guess is you've had a situation or a circumstance in your life, either personally or professionally, where you have felt invisible, which doesn't feel good. And I'm sure also you probably have been in situations and circumstances where your actions may have created a circumstance for someone else where they didn't feel visible and they didn't feel good. And so we're all a work in progress. There's no right or wrong. We are all figuring it all out. I think one of the things that I love about this work is we all think that we are the only ones that can't figure it out, that don't have the right answer, that everybody else has it, but it's us that doesn't. I just want to normalize that because we are all a work in progress. So let's talk about some of the strategies for increasing visibility. So as how can we navigate the challenges of visibility and step into the spotlight? So I think first it starts with mindset. Instead of seeing visibility as a burden or as a threat, we can choose to view it as an opportunity for growth and connection instead. By reframing our perspective, we can embrace visibility as a powerful tool for realizing our potential and making a positive impact on the world and those around us. So, of course, increasing visibility isn't just about shouting from the rooftops or plastering our face on a billboard. It's about being intentional and strategic in how we present ourselves to the world once we're clear on where we're holding ourselves back. It means cultivating a strong personal brand, leveraging social media, networking opportunities, building relationships, or honing our communication skills so that we can effectively share our message with other people. Now, while it starts with mindset, when we do choose to intentionally put ourselves out there, it's really important to take care of ourselves and our central nervous system. And so, one of the co coaches at this event, her name is Danielle Cohen. She's a photographer and a visibility coach. She shared with us the idea of building out what, in quotes, like care plans. So, by finding the ways that work for you or for me, for us as a collective, that give us what we need before, during, and after our, I'm going to put this in quotes again, like our visibility event. So, we've made a decision to be visible and we've created this plan to look after ourselves. For example, it can look like preparing ahead of time to raise your hand, to add your input, to give your feedback, to have the difficult conversation, or as my client did, to terminate an employee. It might also look like taking care of or tending to yourself from a mental, a physical, and emotional perspective, which given my example, it's like reminding myself of what I want to remind as my client, reminding yourself what you want to say, why it's important, leveraging breath techniques, taking care of yourself, taking yourself for a walk after you've had that hard conversation. I mean, I can only speak to my own experience here. Whenever I have terminated people, and I have done, unfortunately, far too many of those discussions, what I can tell you is I created a process for myself. I didn't put it in terms that Danielle did, but certainly I looked after myself and I had rituals that I went through. For example, in case it's useful to just know this, I mean, typically I would plan these things to take place early in the morning. As a result, I would not have caffeine. I would not have breakfast because those things upset my stomach. And as with anxiety and those sorts of things, it just added to it and wasn't really helpful. So I created a process for myself so that I could be available and give all of myself and my energy to the individual to see them, hear them, acknowledge them. And then after that was finished, then I would go take care of myself. So I never had a meeting directly after that. I would take time to go and get a cup of tea, and I would take time to go for a little bit of a walk around whatever building or whatever was available to me at the time. So doing those things are really important. That's the tending to yourself. And so during the last few days, while I prepared for this event that I'm at, yesterday specifically, we were having a group dinner, and as a result, the day was going to be much longer. And so I chose to tend to myself by having lunch on my own in my room at the Airbnb, which is amazing and gorgeous, so that I could recharge myself and my energy because it had been a week of days like this, so that I could be at my best later in the evening. And I'm not I'm not judging myself for my choices, but I'm having my own back instead. I'm taking care of myself. Now, there's also an element of recovery, which can look like engaging in a hobby, resting, or getting a good night's sleep. Or in my case, a peer coach and I had plans to go to the beach this morning. And after 2 weeks of being in Miami and the last 3 days expending a lot of mental, emotional, physical energy, both of us were tired. So we decided very early this morning not to go, to recover instead, because later this afternoon, we're going to be on a yacht enjoying the last evening here, or it's my last evening here. And that is another intentional act of visibility. So I'm going to be curious to learn what might come up for me with this new experience that I'm about to have this evening. Now, the last element or component to the care plan is repair, which is really about something to consider if or when something goes wrong. So, for example, if in the termination case, something went sideways, let's say the employee became agitated or did something that they didn't expect was going to happen, there could be an additional cost. And so, in those cases, depending on the severity and the implication, you might want to talk to someone about what happened in order to get their perspective, or even in some cases, their professional support. Again, depending on the circumstances and what might happen. The essence of repair is to fully process the setback or the situation, what took place, and reframe it for yourself in order to build your resilience and keep going. Keep going. Because those hard things might come in different formats, but they're still going to come towards you as you step forward into your dreams, your goals, your aspirations that you have. So I think this framework, prepare, tend, recover, and repair, can be super useful to you and to me and my clients, which is why I share it with you. And it's such a supportive tool when we're able to ask ourselves what our work is, or where would I love to increase my visibility? So for me, I'll just share my visibility work is in the area of deepening the connection I have with you as the listener, with each of my clients, within my network. And also, I want to show up in a way where I'm sharing some of my own convictions, my own stories, which will be really vulnerable for me, but also with the intention of sharing them because they can be incredibly helpful for you as someone like I've been there and maybe you haven't yet. And so what have I learned that you don't have to learn, that you can, choose what works for you and then let go of the rest, right? So you can look forward to that because I've already created my care plan for putting myself out there in a more visible way on all the socials. And it's going to be hard and I'm going to be doing it anyway. So now I want to kind of shift and talk about like embracing authenticity, because I think that perhaps the most important aspect of being visible is in being authentic. In a world filled with noise and distractions, authenticity is what sets us apart and draws others to us. By embracing who we are, staying true to our values, and owning our unique strengths and quirks, we can create genuine connections and build trust with those around us. So I want to invite and empower you to consider, what is your definition of visibility? What might it be? Given your goals, your dreams, and aspirations, challenge yourself to find all the ways that for you, you can step into the spotlight and embrace the power of visibility. And so, whether you're leading a team, pursuing a passion project, or simply navigating the ups and downs of life like the rest of us are doing, I want to remind you that you matter. Your work matters. Your voice matters, and your story deserves to be told. It deserves to be heard. And I'm just getting emotional saying that because that is so incredibly important. What you have to say, what you have inside of you that's wanting to come out is so incredibly important. That is the work in the world. So my biggest wish in sharing, I didn't know that was going to happen. So I just note that, I name that. My biggest wish in sharing this episode is that you decide for yourself to stand up, to step out, to shine bright, and to show the world who you are at your fullest expression, where you want, where you want to go, who you want to be in the ways that you choose, in the ways that you decide that you want to do and to be visible. Now, I say this because, again, I believe the world really needs everyone's gifts, talents, and dreams. And I hope that you choose to take up space in the areas you can see that you're not being visible. And you might be doing that on purpose, and that's okay. That's not a judgment. Just notice it and take care of yourself with a care plan, and also make space, if you're able to, for others and invite them to be visible so that every one of us can be ourselves and share ourselves and our gifts here in this beautiful world. Because I want to live in a world where we are able to do that, where everyone is welcome and everyone from a collective can bring what we have to offer. So I hope that you found this super useful. And if you want to help with your visibility work, you know where to find me. And I would love, as always, to hear what might have resonated with you or struck a chord with you, or any questions that you have that I can help you with. This is a calling for me. And so when I make those offers, I don't make them lightly. They are serious, they are genuine, they are intentional, and they are true. So that is it for today's episode of the Who Are You to Lead Anyway podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And until next week, choose a few areas or ways that you can be visible, and just try it and see what happens. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Hey there, it's Cynthia. Thanks for being a part of the Who Are You to Lead Anyway journey. Join my newsletter for exclusive updates and resources. Get a complimentary self-discovery workbook at www.cynthiajamiesoncoach.ca. Your feedback shapes this show, so share your thoughts. And if you love the podcast, help spread the word. Thanks for investing in your leadership growth. Let's thrive together.